Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Brothers Take podcast. I am Kris. I am joined once again by my brothers, Adam
Hello.
and Eric.
Hello.
And we are back in the room to talk more gaming. And welcome back, everyone, to the Brothers Take. That's if you've been here before, but if you're new, welcome to the podcast. If you're listening to this, Final Fantasy 16 has launched. Let us know if you're playing it. Another titan in a year of fucking crazy, ridiculous game releases, and we're only halfway through the year, and there's more to come. 2023 might be, by the end of it, the greatest year for gaming.
And
Or, if not what?
it's definitely a year of gaming.
It's definitely a year of gaming. If not, it's definitely up there. But actually, it poses a question. What is the greatest year for gaming so far? And that's what our topic is going to be this week. And of course, we'd love to hear from you guys too. So if you're watching this YouTube, make sure to jump down to the comments at any point, either to share your thoughts on what we bring up, what we say, and we haven't pre-discussed this. So I don't know. Maybe we're all going to pick the same year. Hopefully not. Otherwise, it could be a short episode. So hopefully we'll all have different years, but we'll see what we've all come up with. And remember, this is subjective. We might have our own very personal, very different criteria. It's 1997 because Final Fantasy 7 came out that year. We might have our own very different criteria as to what the greatest year for gaming is. Is it about the quality of games? Is it about the quantity of games? Is it about consoles that released that year? Is it about a particular place we were in our lives that year? I don't know. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. And again, we'd love to hear from you guys. So again, if you're watching YouTube, jump down in the comments, share your thoughts. And if you enjoy this discussion, why not give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring that notification bell for all future content. And to those of you listening on audio platforms, you can also touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take, again, to give your take on what the greatest year for gaming is so far, leaving out 2023, because we're not finished 2023 yet. So it's only, from whatever, the 1950s when games started up to 2022. But I don't know how far back either of the brothers decided to go, but that's what we'll find out. So we're going to cue the music, and then we're going to get right into it. So cue that music! Okay, before any of us actually say what year it was and then go into our breakdown as to why we're putting that year forward as, no, I think this was the greatest year for gaming, I'd love to know, without saying what year it was, I would love to know what your criteria, your own personal criteria was for what you were looking for in terms of looking back. Was it that you were like, whatever year that game released, that's it? Or was there, you know what I mean? Whatever year Infinity Blade released, that was the year.
There was 3 years and I could not pick which one it was.
So Eric, I'll come to you first. What was your criteria for the greatest year of gaming so far?
My criteria was for how many different kind of heavy hitters there was. So it wasn't specifically like my favorite year for games, as in that year had the most amount of games that I liked. It was how many games is there that are quite critically acclaimed or were just like there was something for everyone. That was a big heavy hitter. That was my criteria for like a great year for games. So that pleases everybody,
That's a well-rounded. So you were going for more like from a critic standpoint, almost.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah. Because you know what? I suppose it's nice to have this discussion because a lot of the discussions we've had lately have either been about specific games, specific showcases, things like this. This is a far more general discussion. At any point, people could listen to this. It's not like, oh, in 2 weeks' time, this will be absolutely irrelevant. No one's talking about this anymore.
Could be by the end of the year.
By the end of the year, maybe we'll be. Maybe we'll have to revisit. At the end of the year, we could go, right, was 2023 better than whichever year we picked? Right. That could be a discussion. But Adam, what was your criteria for the greatest year in gaming so
When you
far?
posed this question,
I wondered
I didn't
I
wondered
had to go
yeah
to the dictionary to
yeah
really.
what is a question?
no, I didn't even have to think about it. Right, I was just transported back in time to a not a moment,
Interesting.
a whole year of just memories. So the year that I've chosen as is definitely personal. It's absolutely personal, and it's more about a community kind of experience is what
Interesting.
I chose this year. There are some fucking great games in here though. Like it's not like I chose um a dud
Yeah, yeah.
year,
Yeah, 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 yeah. I hear you. I
but
hear you.
but it's just that it seemed I think I was wouldn't say the most into games that year because I think that came later, but it was just I like even thinking back on it and then looking up the year and looking at what games came out that year and then going like I can't believe the amount of games that came out that year.
Right,
And
right, right,
and
right.
I have so much strong memories with all of them that really shaped, I think, my interest in games to come.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I already have a theory what that year is,
Mm.
but I
Okay.
won't say it. Well, I'll be honest. If you say it, I'll be like, "That's the year I thought it was," or
Oh,
I'll be like, "No, I was way off."
no, regardless, you'll probably go, yeah, that's what I was
No,
thinking.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest. I
Okay.
swear, I'll be honest.
Right.
And if I have it wrong, I will say the year that I thought you were
Okay.
maybe
You know
thinking.
what? Maybe we should all guess each other's year by the time we finish doing the criteria discussion.
Right, and then we can
And
actually
and
do the
then and
follow
then
up
and
and
then
say what the
yeah.
year was. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. What we'll do is
I'll
we
have to do a
will.
real quick search on for what I think Eric's would be then. 1 second.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What we'll do is before each person actually says their year, the other two will guess what year it is. Then they can reveal it, and then they can go into why. Right. Okay.
Yeah,
So for me, I was like, right, I'm not gonna go through because I looked up and yeah, there have been games coming since like the 50s, right? And I said I'm not gonna go back that far because I think as well in latter years gaming has come to such a incredible point that um I just don't think I don't think in my criteria I'm gonna say anything that released in the 60s was the pivotal year of gaming in comparison to anything that happened in my lifetime, right? So my criteria was I'm only going far back as far as I've been alive because those are the years I've experienced on this planet, right?
yeah.
So
That's
there's no,
fair.
I was like, there's no point in me claiming that some year that I wasn't fucking around for. It was the greatest year of gaming because I didn't experience it at all. And even at that, it's like, if I go back as far as 1993, it's like I wasn't playing games then, you know. So, but I did. I looked at all the years that I've been alive on this planet,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would skim through, and I was kind of like, it has the year that I'm gonna put down has to have more than one strong release, not just in my eye, but also in the eyes of like the world, like pivotal games. But then also my own personal bias coming in there too. So if it didn't have say more than like five big releases in an entire year, then it's not that it wasn't there's not good games that year, but it's like there's no way then that that year is better than a year that has more than that. So it's off the list, right? But I also factored in years where consoles were released,
Well, that's gonna help me narrow it down.
right? So for me, a big part was if a console was released that year, as well as big games in that year, and a
Mhm.
variety of big games, then for me it was like because there's the excitement of a new console and a new experience, but there's also maybe the tail end of a generation, maybe the best of a generation, um, as well as the new generation and things to look forward to. All right, so that was my thinking towards what year would be the best year for gaming. Lots of releases and consoles. So I wrote down a few years actually, a few different ones. Um,
Well, that's gonna be hard to guess then.
well, if I'm honest with you, I am between two as the top dog in gaming as far as I'm concerned. I'm leaning heavily towards 1,
Right.
but I also feel like there might be too much bias towards that year. That's what I'll say.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So, yeah, we should definitely guess each other's years, but like, don't give it away yet, right? Don't say
yeah.
yes or no.
Fair.
Just
Yeah.
it's just like you've named it, and we're just gonna keep that, hold it, and then we'll get around to revealing.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So, let's see. Let's guess Eric's, right?
Okay.
So Eric said a year where there were like lots of really big and varied releases.
Very games, yeah.
Right? So I am drawn towards, I think it's not that long ago that he has picked. I think he's in the mid like 2010s. I think it's one of the years that we discussed in our first 10 episodes. I think it's one of the, I don't think it's earlier than that. That's what I think. And maybe it's like, maybe it's 2013.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
2013.
I'm gonna guess it's 2013, which I had noted, and it is, I think it's the year. It is the year. Sorry, that The Last of Us came out. Tomb Raider, BioShock Infinite, Justice Gods Among Us, Outlast. So it's got the variety of different games. It's got some big heavy hitters. It has the game of the year for 200 years, as Eric has said before. So maybe it's 2013. That's my guess for Eric's.
Right. I'm gonna go with
Adam's gone back to like 10,000 BC when
Yeah.
they invented the game of golf.
The
I'm gonna
Atari.
go. No, I'm gonna go with 2011
Interesting. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
his.
Okay. Yeah.
because when I'm looking at like a lot of heavy hitters that are varied,
Mm.
Arkham City, Skyrim, Modern Warfare 3, Uncharted 3, Gears 3.
Mortal Kombat.
Like there was a ton of games that came out that year.
There surely was.
Deus Ex came out as well.
Wow. Human Evolution?
Yep.
Wow.
Human Revolution, yeah. Dark Souls, Dead Space 2. I think I mentioned that one already. But yeah, a lot of variation there in 2011. And some pretty LA Noir as well. Some really good titles there.
Yeah.
So I think
those are
maybe
two
that one.
very solid years. I actually think when we were picking what was the best year of the 10 years that we did before, I think we came down to those two anyway. Now we weren't factoring in any year before that previous anyway. So yeah, I think we struggled between those two. We were like, is it the year of The Last of Us or the year of Skyrim? Which one is a better year, basically?
Yeah,
Because they both have like a strong lineup of like serious games. Like they're both like 2023s, which is what we're in now. You know, like where it's like, fucking hell, every month there's like 3 games I'm into. Like my wallet is getting fucking dry, like, you know. Okay, so do we just want to do the guesses first?
Yeah, just the guesses
I
first,
just
right.
locked that in. All right, so at the moment, yeah okay. So we're guessing
Never
for
give
Eric.
the answers.
For Eric, I'm saying 2013.
Sorry.
You're saying 2011. Okay, Eric, it's our turn to guess for Adam.
Okay. So, Adam said words. And I remember words. I'm guessing because Adam's talking about personal memory and yeah, you were throwing me off with some of this shit, right? You were saying like personal memory stuff, but I was like, oh, early 2000s, PS2 came out, you got the Metal Gear Solid 2,
Yeah.
right? Great.
Yeah,
Then he
yeah.
started going on about community-based shit, and I was like, Destiny? Sea of Thieves, because that's also when he wasn't really into games that much. So
Interesting.
that he's like, so that may be the year that those games came out. But then I'm thinking, but what's another community thing of such great memories?
Yeah.
And it would be the likes of Metal Gear, whatever Metal Gear Solid 2 or Metal Gear Solid 3, or whenever San Andreas came out. Because
Right.
you'd have the cheat codes, you have all the different things, and you go into the schoolyard, everybody talking and sharing
Eric,
information.
I like the way you're like deducting what he's like, because I didn't even think about the possibility of Sea of Thieves or Destiny, which is actually a really good shout out. But I immediately was like, Adam is talking early 2000s, I think.
Yes, that's what I'm
Um,
thinking as well.
I'm between 2 years. My initial thought was, because I said I would say it, my initial thought was 2001. And 2001 was the PS2 had been out for a while now, so
Mhm.
people are playing the PS2. But comes along then the GameCube and the original Xbox, which is the beginning of the modern console war, which is something that Adam was always really into, right? And then you've also got Final Fantasy X, MGS2, Silent Hill 2, Time Crisis 2 comes to the PS2, Devil May Cry, Halo, like serious lineup of games, right? But then other thing he said, just the more I'm talking about it and thinking about it, the other thing he said was the games that kind of shaped his taste in gaming for the future. And you mentioned it there with Grand Theft Auto. In 2004, we had San Andreas, Halo 2, Battle for Middle Earth, The Third Age, fucking Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. You also had the Twin Snakes for the GameCube, Mortal Kombat Deception, which are all big games that Adam has talked about before, pivotal games. So, I between 2001 and 2004, but my initial guess was 2001. So I'm gonna stick with 2001 as
Okay, you
Adam's
go 2001.
greatest year of gaming.
See, I was going to say, 2001, 2002, to be honest.
All right.
But it's not really good if we all agree on the same thing. So I'll go 2004 then. So I'll take 2004, you take 2001, and we're both
Sure.
going to be wrong because it was probably the year Sea of Thieves came out.
Or Destiny. It's the year of Destiny. It's way closer than we realized. It's like, I told you I wasn't into games. I fucking loved games when MGS2 came out. Right. Okay. So
I think Chris made it a little bit easier for us.
I'm thinking it's either PS3 going to the PS4 or PS4 going into PS5. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, yeah, so it's going to be one of those two things because
Right.
it's like, I mean, thinking back on Chris's memories, his hype level for PS3 wasn't as high as it was for, let's say, PS4, and certainly not as high as it was for PS5.
No, because PS5 announcing was Miles Morales Spider-Man, right? Which Chris loved the PS4 Spider-Man. But at the end of PS4, this is where I was like, right, it's probably more the PS5 being released. Because, yeah, again, talking about the hype levels of when this thing's been released, pretty much the end of the PS4 era was Final Fantasy VII Remake. The only thing that would really make a grown man like Chris cry.
Yeah, like looking at the end of the PS3 era, like good games, right? You got BioShock Infinite and The Last of Us, kind of the two main ones, kind of ending that generation going into PS4. Or we look at the releases of 2020, and you've got Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah, those two alone, I think, makes it 2020. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
Interesting.
Or will I also do what we did?
No. Like, it's like if you whatever your heart tells you. For me, it's 2020.
I think it's 2020.
Interesting. Okay, so we went around. I think now it's time to get into which year is the one you're putting forward, and feel free to go into as much detail as possible.
Detail
as to why you picked that year as the greatest year of gaming so far. And why it was the year Infinity Blade released. Okay, so Eric, we came around to you first. Okay, our guesses were 2013
2011.
and 2011.
How wrong were we?
Yeah, how wrong were we? Did you actually pick 2017?
Adam was on the ball. It was 2011.
2011.
Hey!
For the exact reasons he was saying. I was looking and going, well, there's Arkham City. People loved it. There was Skyrim.
Amazing game.
Amazing game. LA Noire, Portal 2, Modern Warfare 3, Star Wars The Old Republic. So already we have this like superhero based story driven game. We got the sandbox fantasy. We got a Rockstar crime driven story. Portal 2, which is a first person sandbox puzzle game. Modern Warfare 3. I mean, it's Call of Duty. You got the multiplayer going on there. Star Wars The Old Republic, an MMO in a science fantasy setting. The Witcher 2, Assassins of Kings, which I think is what brought Witcher to console. And then what got even more people into The Witcher. You had The Legend of Zelda, Skyward Sword, so that's Legend of Zelda fans, Gears of War 3, Dead Space 2, Uncharted 3, Deus Ex, Battlefield 3.
It's a fairly serious year.
Saints Row the Third, which, fun, again, it's like a sandbox sort of game there for a lot of people to enjoy. Dark Souls, which kicked off the Soulsborne genre that were...
No, it was Dark Souls. It was a remastered version of it, though, no?
It was. But fair play. Fight Night Champions, you got a fighting game there. Assassin's Creed Revelations for the Assassin's Creed pan. Like, yeah, I can go on and go on and go on. Dead Island, Infamous 2, Dragon Age 2, Bulletstorm, Homefront, Spider-Man Edge of Time.
5 hours later.
Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine, in which we're now getting a second one.
Yeah.
I can keep going and keep going and keep going. So just when I was looking and going, holy crap, like there was so many games. There's a Final Fantasy, a Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time right there. So there's two Legends of Zelda
They've got
games.
one of those.
Another one of those.
That's two Legend of Zelda games in the freaking 1 year. So yeah, that's why I chose 2011. Completely not biased. It's not because Skyrim was released that year.
Is it because Skyrim? Were you like, whichever year Skyrim released, that's the
I'm not gonna lie, Bodie's were on the ball. I was like, right, it's between 2011 and 2013, because you had Skyrim in 2011 and you had Last of Us in 2013. So I looked at 2013's list and I looked at 2011's list and I was just like, no, 2011 had the way more kind of more infamous style games.
That's Uncharted 3 as well, right?
Yeah, man, did you not hear it? Out of the 50 games I listed,
I know you listed so many. I was trying to keep up.
Yeah, no, there's Uncharted 3 there.
I love discussions like this because there's so many. Again, it is subjective, right? And it's down to like someone could have like whatever year Breath of the Wild released, because that's like their favorite game all time. They're like, no, it trumps all other games, therefore it's the greatest year of gaming. Someone else could feel very strongly that they're like, whatever game changed the gaming industry forever, that is the year of the greatest gaming. But there's no denying, and everyone can say when there's years like that was a pretty weak year for games, right? Like I think 2021 stood out towards the end of the year, like for the Game Awards and stuff. It was pretty pretty slow in terms of like, there's not many games to choose from here. No one can deny that 2011 is a fucking serious year of games. And how many times have we spoken about Skyrim?
I think we mentioned it a few times already.
We mentioned it a couple of times, right?
What's the choice?
Can I ask you something, right? We've never done this either. At some point, I would love us to compile, which would obviously be at that point in time, and things change, what we class as, in our own personal biases, the 10 greatest games we've ever played. Right? But we're not going to do that right now. But if you were to make that list, do you think Skyrim is on your own personal top 10 of all time?
Above Doki Doki Literature Club? I don't know, man.
Actually, what fucking year did that release? That's the fucking... That's the GOAT. That's the GOAT.
Fucking Goat Simulator.
I think I think Doki Doki is a lot newer than... I think Doki might be like 2016, 2017 or something. I don't know. But
I would say it would be on that list.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, mentioned it enough. It has to be.
Yeah, it's like I owe it. I owe it to myself at this point. For how many versions of the game I bought.
Yeah. That's probably another. That's probably another list. How many games have you bought more than once?
Mm. Yeah, there's a couple I can think of.
Yeah, and like, and you rank them like so the one that you bought the most ends up at number one of that list.
I actually think I might have bought Final Fantasy VII the most of any game I've ever bought.
Does that include
Possibly. I'm. There's different versions of that, right?
All right, okay. You're not
Right.
excluding the remake.
I'm excluding the remake.
Oh, you're excluding the remake.
Yeah, I'm excluding the remake. Like, because I bought the digital version for my phone, and I bought the digital version for the PlayStation 4, and I bought a physical copy that I can't play on anything. And then I bought the PlayStation Classic to play it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
with the
that could
intention
be
of buying that game. So it's right up there. I think as one of the most bought games I have.
It could be for me too, actually.
Really?
Yeah,
Hilarious.
Because I also bought I also got on the PS4.
Yeah.
I also got the PS Classic. I also had a on PS1 disc.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
And I had it digitally for the PS3 and
Yes.
PSP.
Well, there you go. And you completed it.
I don't have it on phone.
You completed it all those times, right? Say it on the podcast. Have you ever completed Final Fantasy VII?
I have completed Final Fantasy VII, but
but not as many times as I've started it.
Not as many times as I bought it.
Yeah. Me neither. I've actually only ever completed it to fruition once.
Same.
In as many times as I love it, but I've only ever actually completed it once.
Got it on the PS4. Yes. And I put on the cheat codes and I played through it and just kind of cleared it. But yeah, well, like when you're saying buying the game so many times, does upgrading it to PS5 count?
No.
I mean actually buying it. Yeah. Buying it several times.
You've only ever bought games once.
Yeah. That's just how except Skyrim, right?
You must have bought that twice.
Yeah, because you would have bought the
you bought it on
PS3 and Xbox. Yeah, PS3
well, no, you bought on you bought the Xbox version as well?
No, sorry, PS3 and PS4.
Yeah.
Then I technically didn't buy the PS3 one, did I? Because I got it for my birthday.
You technically didn't buy the PS4 one either. I think we got it for you.
There you go. I never bought Skyrim.
You're not a real Skyrim fan. You've never bought Skyrim. You don't even.
How many games did you not buy?
That's a bigger list.
How many times have you not bought a game that you love?
In the negative.
Mass Effect 2 and 3, I suppose I bought 3 times technically.
Oh yeah, because there would have been the trilogy,
Xbox,
the single games,
PS3,
Xbox, PS3
trilogy, and then the Legendary Edition,
the Legendary Collection.
Which means I would have bought Mass Effect 1 twice then. So those,
that's true. Yeah,
those ones. Yeah.
Solid games too. You know, I did look at 2010 at one point because I was like, Mass Effect 2 came out that year, but not enough heavy hitters. I think alongside that one that year. There was Red Dead Redemption. That's another good one that year.
Yeah.
But yeah, we. If anyone, by the way, wants to hear like way more conversations about basically from 2010 to 2019, that is what our first 10 episodes of this podcast ever were. There's not a video version of that. There's only audio. But if you ever want to hear us like go year by year, and we call out a good few games from each of those years, but we spent a long time on 2011.
I think that's also
that was a good year.
That was episode 2. It's titled Spiders and Why I Hate Them.
I think that's the first 10 episodes is where Infinity Blade is first mentioned, brought up.
Of course it is, because I think you put it in as an honorable mention as nearly your favorite game from one year. Can I ask, Eric, you gotta at some point, you gotta make like a video essay of the lore of Infinity Blade. Will you please do that? I
don't know. Sure, I'd have to watch everyone else's video essays on the lore of the game just to make my own video essay of the lore of the game.
You were telling me the lore before, no? Or do you only have
that's
from the intros or gist of it?
Yeah, I said the basic gist of it, and then it was just from watching other people do their video essay lores.
All right, start a campaign, guys. Hashtag bring back Infinity Blade.
There's 2 books on it, and I might get those 2 books and read them.
Is there actually?
There's 2 books written by
There
Brandon
is. I don't know if
Sanderson.
they're still available, but yeah, there is.
Wow.
Why is life doing this to me? You take away the games and then you're taking away the books. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Let me experience this.
Ah!
That name is familiar to me. Brandon Sanderson. He's like well known in the fantasy novel genre.
Yeah, he's written like 10,000 books strong at least.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Eric has put forward 2011 as the greatest year in gaming so far. What do you think? Let us know. Is he right? And is there games that he's missed from that year that are also heavy hitters? Is there other reasons that year would be the greatest year in gaming, do you think? Or is he wrong? Adam,
Yes.
we're going to come to you next. Now, I had guessed 2001. And
Yeah.
Eric, you took 2004. I still feel confident that it's the early 2000s. Because
I'm not at all. I think he's gonna throw out some fucking
No,
curveball and be
'cause
like, when Zork came out, that was fucking amazing.
I think Adam is too nostalgic to not think about his childhood when it comes to what was the greatest year for gaming. You know,
Yeah.
because he constantly is talking about how games are shit nowadays. And
I'm
they need
old
to-
man.
and-
I'm old
yeah,
man who shut
right,
the cloud.
and
basically.
they need to go back to when games were good. So, but anyway, were any of us right or were we way off?
Eric was bang on with absolutely everything he said.
Eric, really? Wait, now. So it wasn't
Not
the year
everything,
though.
sorry. Oh yeah, no,
And the year.
2004.
2004.
Oh wow, okay.
2004 was.
Because
Solid.
that one was I only took 2004 because Chris took 2001.
No, I know, but what you're saying with regards to like the community aspect being actually going into, you know, a friend's house or a school or whatever and actually discussing the game or going over to each other's house and playing them. But I chose that year as well because a lot of the other years that I've played games in, it's hard for me to say that that year was great because many of them I played in other years.
Yeah. I
So
get
Final
that.
Fantasy X, for example, which was 2001, I didn't get to play that till
Maybe 2002 or
3, I think. I think
Oh,
10
okay.
2 was out at the time
Okay.
when I played 10. Could have been later than that even. So a lot of the games I didn't get to experience the year they came out. 2004 was the first time I ever got to experience going to a gaming launch.
Oh, then
And
was it then in
man.
GameStop?
Well, one of them was that was for Snake Eater.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Wow.
That was
Yeah,
great.
Of course. Yeah.
And just seeing every shelf had a copy of it, like it was just, and you know, all the magazines at the time, that's all they were writing about, and then you go into school, that's all anyone's talking about, and there's a lot of stuff in Snake Eater to, you know, oh, did you get this? And it's like, oh no, how'd you get that? And then you're chatting to each other. You know, this is pre-YouTube of times, you know, when it's like you had to actually talk to people to figure out how to do things. But San Andreas, the launch of San Andreas was crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't get a copy till probably 2 weeks after it launched because it was sold out everywhere.
Yeah.
And we
yeah,
tried
The demand for
multiple
that's
places.
huge.
That was another that one came out. I remember that launch was first, and then I wasn't pre-ordering at the time, like, so this was like my first time ever going down to actually like on a launch day to try get a game. So I wasn't aware of what that would be like, so I didn't pre-order it. Couldn't get it. 2 weeks later, managed to get a copy. So I remember when Snake Eater was coming out, and I was telling Dad at the time, it's like, can you pre-order because it's going to be crazy, you know? And then we walk in the day it releases, and like it was grand. No one was. It's not that no one was looking for it, but it wasn't like GTA.
Right. Of course.
Like, it
not.
wasn't fucking everyone looking for the game. So they had a lot of copies. But yeah, those two alone, I think, just made that such an incredible year, and it's
Wait.
all anyone would like talk about.
Well, you've just named two games that are up there as two of the greatest games ever made. Right?
Yeah,
Now, that list is long, right? And people will have various different variations of what the greatest games of all time ever are. But I think there's many people that would put them on their list. there's a reason that GTA 5, now whether it did it or not, is obviously up to debate, but there's a reason GTA 5 tried to revisit maybe some of the vibes of San Andreas, right? Because they're like, this is what people love about Grand Theft Auto. And there's a reason, whether again people agree with it or not, that Snake Eater is being remade by Konami before any other Metal Gear Solid game. And it's because it is classed as the greatest in the
Best one,
series,
yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, what other big heavy hitters came out that year? Because I think it was actually quite stacked.
Yeah, like I remember, like each of the games. A lot of my gaming experience is going to someone's house with a copy, or they bring a copy, and we're playing together. So that year in particular, that's why I said the community aspect of it. You know, there's a lot of solo playing, obviously, but then there's a lot of just sitting together, passing the controller, and just enjoying it. So Spider-Man 2 came out that year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, what
And
a blast
that
from
was
the
like,
past.
you know, I know we talk about like Batman Arkham Asylum is like, you know, the moment, you know, it makes you feel like Batman, that kind of thing. But and Insomniac Spider-Man, but the Spider-Man 2 on PS2 was the first time really to nail a superhero game. Like it was just and between like Spider-Man 2, San Andreas, and MGS3. Whether you enjoy the story or not, those games are just fun to just arse around in.
Yeah.
And just going around the city, trying to climb to the top of the building and jumping off the top of the building. Like that's an aspect of it was just so much fun. And that's a game where you do just sit there and you're just chatting away to your mate, and you're doing nothing really. You're just passing the time, but you're just hanging out. So that was another great one. Need for Speed Underground 2.
Yeah.
That
Get
was
low,
another
get low, get low, get low, get low.
that was another just like, I mean,
menu.
I was not really into racing games, but Need for Speed Underground, that really changed it for me.
Sounds emotional.
Sorry,
Yeah, I know, man.
no, I'm still kind of recovering from fucking yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat Deception.
What a game.
Yeah,
We've talked about it plenty of times, but what a game.
we have, and that one, I remember a friend of mine, we were really getting into Mortal Kombat, and I think it was like we were trying to get. We were watching the films and stuff like that. Like we got really into Mortal Kombat, and we were trying to get Deadly Alliance, and we were trying to rent it when you could rent games. We went down to try and rent the game, and there was no copy available, and so we saw Deception, and we're like, sure, we'll try that one. And it was just we were just both.
Yeah, did you? Yeah, use it.
We're
No,
both
use it.
just-
Picked up the better one.
Yeah, we were both blown away by it. Well, we wanted Deadly Alliance because it had the characters we were familiar with. So
Right.
Deception has newer characters, but we were both blown away with it by it. That week we ended up buying a copy each, and we both just got really sucked into Conquest. Like that shit was just so enjoyable. Again, another game you could just kind of arse around in. It was really fun just running around different realms and just seeing little Easter eggs here and there. Dawn of War.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like one of the greatest RTSs ever made.
Was released alongside possibly the greatest RTS that year.
Well, I never got to play the Battle for Middle-earth 2. I never played that one.
Is that? But I thought Battle for Middle-earth 1 was released that year.
I don't think so.
Oh, did I mix them up?
Yeah, it might be a different year. I don't know actually. Let me see. When was
Maybe I read it wrong. I thought Battle for Middle-earth released 2004. Which is fair.
I do remember early 2000s was good time for RTS games.
Yeah, he's lining up a fairly
maybe it
serious
was.
year here.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, it would have been.
It is because the
Yeah,
third
yeah.
age, the third age was that year. As well.
Yeah, Third Age was that year as well, which was fucking great. Like Battle for Middle Earth as well was a game I dreamed of.
Yeah.
Like I remember like playing like Age of Mythology and things like that. And there was War of the Ring, I think.
Yeah, there's War of the Ring.
The
Yeah,
Era Games, I think it was who made that one. And it was fine, but I was like, no, I want one that's like based on the movies, right? And it even got to a point where I was like, if this doesn't get made, I'm going to become a game developer. Like that's how strongly I felt about this
Right.
game needing to be in existence. And then it gets released. And yeah, so between Battle for Middle Earth and Dawn of War, like
So,
fucking hell,
yeah,
like the two
I remember
greatest RTS games.
we went to Waterford, I think it was, county over from us, and we went into a place called PC World.
Yes.
You
That a
said it the
thing?
way they say it on the ad. PC World.
To get more RAM for the PC so that Battle for Middle Earth could run and look better.
And a whole new graphics card. Yeah,
And
that's
you got a whole new graphics card. Okay.
yeah, that was the time we had
Because
to.
and then there was this
Yeah.
like I remember like 'cause I was much younger, but just being like when you install that stuff and then you put the game on Battle for Middle Earth, I just remember being like, oh my god, this is amazing. There's little people working the farm fields when you build a farm, and I was like blown away by just the extra little details that the game had.
And the third age then as well, like, you know, basically Lord of the
Mm.
Rings with Final Fantasy X mechanics.
Yeah.
What a crossover.
That was fun. But like there were a few games that I wasn't totally into that year, but were massive. So Rome Total War came out that year.
Mm.
And you had Killzone, which I remember that being quite huge amongst
Yeah, big time.
a lot of players. Half-Life 2, which is considered one of the greatest games ever made, came out that year.
Oh my god, Half-Life 2. The people are waiting nearly 20 years, over 20 years for a Half-Life 3.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh my
that is
God.
one of the most awaited. Like the day that gets announced as some kind of Jeff Keighley showcase is the final thing. Is the day that the internet will shit its pants. Like,
So that'll be the
Yeah.
equivalent of 7 remake, like.
yeah, big time. Big time.
Yes. That's probably why they're never going to do it because the pressure is just huge.
It's immense,
Holy
right? They could never
shit.
live up to it, whatever it is. Yeah.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
And I never owned an Xbox, but on the Xbox side, if you had an Xbox that year, you were playing Fable and Halo 2. And Halo
Mm.
2 was arguably the best multiplayer game ever created. And a game that's not well received, but I love the fuck out of it, was Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes.
I love that game. I don't care
love
what
that
anyone
game.
says. I know
Yeah.
the cutscenes are cheesy, and I know when it comes to boss fights, the game is broken as fuck, right?
Yep.
But the actual being able to use basically, I can fuck around tanker style in Shadow Moses,
Yep.
which is the best setting of the entire Metal Gear Solid franchise, and with the creepy music and atmosphere, but like better graphics. Twin Snakes is fucking unreal. I wish if that was on the Switch, I'd buy a Switch. That would make me buy a Switch.
Yeah,
100%.
I loved the Twin Snakes. And it's it's absolutely coming back from, you know, nostalgia basically.
Yeah, of course.
But that I thought that was a pretty good year.
No, that's you've laid out some heavy hitters there. That's some strong competition. Let me tell you, 2004, serious year for gaming. When did the PSP launch?
6.
6. Yeah,
Was
I
it
think it was 6.
2006?
Yeah.
Same year as the PS3.
Because around the same time as PS3, and PS3 was 2006.
2007. So yeah, just a year later. Yep.
No, PS3 was 2006, wasn't it? End of 2006.
Thought it was.
I think Eric's right.
Because I was in 6th class. Was I not? And was that not 2006?
Well, that could be it could be a region launch thing.
Come on, Eric. Most of the listeners don't know what the fuck that means. What the hell is
I
6th
was
class?
12. When you're 12
Yeah.
and you're in school, whatever that is in grade terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was 2007 in Europe, 2006 in Japan.
That's what it is. That's what
See,
I get.
that's
Right.
it's just my Japanese brain activating there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's understandable.
Well,
Pachinko machine.
so you guys had predicted that the year I was going to put forward was the year 2020, which is very recent. That's the most recent of the years, right? It's not my childhood. That's not nostalgic at all. And if anyone knows me, I'm a very nostalgic person. Final Fantasy VII being my favorite game of all time, released in 1997, and I still haven't got over it. No matter how good the graphics and gameplay are for other games that are obviously better made games than Final Fantasy VII, I'll never get off that fucking cliff. That being said, if you're gonna remake that game and then release that game in a year that I personally think was fucking incredible for gaming. These are on the ball. I put 2020 forward as possibly the greatest year for gaming so far. The end of one generation and the beginning of another. So there's a couple of reasons I've picked it. Notably biased, right? But for a couple of reasons. There's a couple of reasons that I'm biased. So that for me is the best year of gaming. One being some of the games that released that year, which I will go into. Another actually being that was the year COVID started. It was the year of the lockdown, and it was the year of gaming. Not just the new games that were coming out, but going back to the back catalog. It was like the year of, this is the year to game, because gaming is actually going to get you through this shit, right? And then the other one was, it was the year we started our gaming podcast, and I became way more of a fan of games than I was previous. And I started listening to other gaming podcasts because I was curious what other people were saying, listening to gaming discussions. I got into Min-Max and Maximilian Dude and Kind of Funny games. So on a very personal level, my own interest in games that I always had expanded hugely in 2020. And not because of COVID, right? COVID then happened after. Like, we didn't start this podcast because COVID happened and it's like, everyone's starting a podcast, let's start one. We started it in January and we didn't know the world was going to go to shit, and then the world went to shit, right? And then we said, well, sure, we'll continue it. But we did it because we were already interested in games. And then, yes, so we had the end of one generation. We have Final Fantasy VII Remake, a game I'd been dreaming about my whole life. Years and years of talking about that game, the build up to that game, the announcement of that game in 2015. Every year, any tiny thing that would come out about it, looking at it, speculating, how are they going to do this? How are they going to do that? What might they do? The game comes out, the intro makes me cry. It's fucking amazing. The gameplay is the greatest gameplay I've ever played ever. You get to the ending, you're conflicted by the ending. Then you spend the rest of the year discussing that ending, and then go, now I'm even more excited for part 2, because I don't know what they're doing, and speculating again. And anytime they announce anything at all, you're looking into it and reading into it, listening to other people's discussions of it. Suddenly I wish I was the age that I was as a like, I wish I was 2004 age, and that we were all in the schoolyard discussing Final Fantasy VII Remake. I wish I was there. But instead, we were doing it online because that's where we were. And the discussions were happening online instead of there was one big digital schoolyard to discuss that game. And if it was only that game, whatever, that's just pure bias. But there was lots of great games that year, including Ghost of Tsushima, which I was excited for. I thought would be good. And then it came out. And is arguably one of the greatest games of the PS4 generation, and could be well up there as one of the greatest games ever made. From not only a game, yeah, did you?
Well, I bought it for me and I bought it for you.
Oh yeah, that's true. Hey, I have never bought that game. From a gameplay standpoint, from eventually a narrative standpoint, like, it starts off pretty basic, but it becomes this incredible character study. The graphics are incredible. The art style is fucking beautiful. Amazing. Then you have The Last of Us Part 2, right? Now, whatever you feel about the narrative of The Last of Us Part 2, from a performance standpoint, graphical standpoint, the actual acting in the game, that is a technical masterpiece. That game is incredible, and it's right up there, the peak of that generation again, right? Then you've also got the launch of the next generation consoles. The PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X come out. bold designs. I remember like the lead up to them, the reveal of them, the excitement for them. It's like we've already had these Titan games, and now we're already looking at the next generation. And this is what's keeping us going through this fucking awful time, this awful pandemic, is this awesome new technology, these awesome new games. And then you got the launch lineup that came with the PS5. You got the Demon Souls remake. What a graphical fucking incredible game. You got Miles Morales. Fucking Spider-Man Miles Morales, which plays just as well as Spider-Man PS4, right? But it's got way more abilities. Miles is way more fun to play as, and it's just giving you a taste of what you can expect in the next entry. It's fucking awesome. You've also got that year on the PS5, Astro's Playroom, which just hits you with the nostalgia of all of the years of PlayStation gaming you have ever done. And now you're here at this moment, the next generation. And I blew into the controller, and I know that wasn't a big deal. But Eric was there for my reaction. And Eric saw how blown away I was by the feeling that, because with PS4 from PS3, I wasn't that blown away. I was like, cool, new console. But I wasn't that blown away. But the PlayStation 5 and having that tech demo felt like, now maybe people haven't utilized it enough since, but in that moment, that first time playing it, I felt the jump. The jump had happened, the leap, the new generation. This was next gen console. But then as well, just to shout out a few other big games that came out that year. That maybe not necessarily that I played, but just big games for anyone who may have forgotten that 2020 was the year that those games released. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Doom Eternal, Half-Life Alyx, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Microsoft Flight Simulator, Cyberpunk 2077. I know it releases a broken game, but people love that game now. Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout. People were playing the shit out of that during the whole lockdown. You had Call of Duty Warzone, people playing on their phones, Genshin Impact. You had the ultimate version of Mortal Kombat 11 with all of the DLC. Resident Evil 3 released that year. Dreams released in 2020. What the fuck? So I think 2020. Oh wait, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War released that year too. I think it was just a monumental year for gaming in terms of not just having great games and new consoles, the best consoles I think we've ever had, but also the need for gaming. The world needed gaming that year.
Welcome to Chris's TED Talk.
Yes. The world needed gaming in 2020, and gaming delivered in 2020. And therefore, I think it was the greatest year of gaming so far.
I just remember being in the line outside GameStop waiting for it to open.
That's right.
Copy of Doom Eternal.
That's right.
And we're in the middle of a fucking pandemic, and I'm surrounded
Yeah.
by everyone like lining up for Animal Crossing, and I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I had to release the same day, didn't it?
It did. But I'd love to know from other people now. We've put out 3 very different years, actually, for very different reasons. And people might, a big part of this might be, where were you in your life at the time?
3 different generations, too.
Very different generations. So what age were you? And, you know, so I'd love to know of those 3, regardless of what your own, like, do let us know what you think was the greatest year for gaming. But out of those 3, which one do you think was better than the other 2 even? Just that, because why not? Let's just have a little, why not? Maybe it's like, nah, come on, Adam's heavy hitters, come on. Or maybe they're like, nah, Eric, come on. He had the year of Skyrim and fucking Uncharted 3 and Arkham City, come on. Or maybe you're like, nah, I have recency bias, like you, Chris. And I'm thinking about the last couple of years, and 2020 was the last time before this year that I felt like, oh, gaming's amazing. So maybe you're in that boat. I don't know. Were there any other years as you were looking through that you had as that you think are worth throwing out there as like honorable mentions that aren't the other years we've just said?
Well, I think mine was because it was between
2013?
2011 and 2013. So yeah, 2013 would be my honorable mention. I mean, 2020 is a good shout because like you with remake and like Adam with Battle for Middle Earth, for a good few years, Ghost of Tsushima was the game that I was dreaming of because it just every samurai game was really fucking hard, and I was like,
Right.
why am I playing these games where I don't feel like a samurai? And now then Ghost of Tsushima came out. It was everything I wanted. I
Yeah.
got a pet of fox. That was like the best thing ever. So yeah, that was I mean, 2004 was a good one. 2001 was a good one.
It was all just with Ghost of Tsushima. It was also like the Assassin's Creed game I always wanted.
It was the Assassin's Creed game everyone wanted since Assassin's Creed came out.
Yeah, in a way it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I actually think another good year to shout out, just for the games that came out that year and kind of how pivotal they were going forward. 2007, which we've already said was when the PS3 launched here in Europe, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But it was also the year of like some, like when you think about it, and so early on in a console's sort of lifespan, it was the year of, speaking of, Assassin's Creed released, right?
Okay.
And was like a, groundbreaking game that absolutely evolved the way open world games would be made going forward. You had the first BioShock. You had Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, one of the best first person shooters ever made. You had God of War 2. You had Mass Effect. And you had the first ever Uncharted. As well as
Halo
obviously
3.
many, many others. Halo 3 that year as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think 2007 is another good shout out for like
Oblivion
a pivotal
came
year
out
of games.
that year I think it was the year before for Xbox, but that year for the PS3, I think it was Oblivion.
Oh, possibly, yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
God of
actually.
War 2.
Yeah, I said God of War 2, yeah.
That was a good year. Yeah, 2007 was a great year.
2007 is a really good year. And I could see like a lot of people who maybe grew up around that time being like, wow, lads, 2007, like look at all those games that then, and it's a year full of, when you think about it, like when you got Mass Effect, Assassin's Creed, BioShock, the first Modern Warfare. I know it was Call of Duty 4, but it was the first Modern Warfare. Uncharted. They're all, a lot of them are new IPs. They all kicked off new franchises. They weren't just returning.
Yeah, and changed the game.
Returning series, and they changed the game. So I think 2007 is a good shout out as well.
Yeah.
Any other years?
Between the three of us, we've touched on all four. All the PlayStation generations bar one.
Right, which is the PlayStation 1. Yeah. Why do you think that is? Are we all collectively saying the PlayStation 1 sucks?
No, because it's just because if you look at older like podcasters or gaming journalists, they have such fond memories of the PS1 and consider it like the best console generation.
Yeah.
But I never really could, like, I loved the console and I loved a lot of games that were on it, but I never connected with it in the same way. Even though like my favorite game of all time is on it. But I think it's probably more to do with like there's great games, but I don't think there's great years.
Yeah, do you know what? Yeah, I think it's different if you're just making a greatest games of all time list. I think you will find a lot of
them would be PS1. Actually,
you'll find a lot of PS1 games on that list.
Yeah,
but they're not all heavy hitters within the 1 year. Yeah. So like Final Fantasy 7, Metal Gear Solid, Resident Evil, they're all different years.
Tekken 3.
None of them are releasing the same year. If all of them released in 1 year, you'd have a fucking strong argument.
Any of the Tomb Raiders.
Yeah.
GTA started on PS1.
Now, I do believe that a lot of people have made the argument before, actually, that 1998, the year of Metal Gear Solid, because Resident Evil 2 released that year. And if I was to look, I think I did have a look at it, and there was some solid ones.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? There is some solid, like, if you're going to talk about the 90s at all, I actually, if I remember correctly, 1998 stood out with
I didn't explore it that far back, but holy fuck.
do you wish now that you had? Would you like to know more? Yeah, so you have actually. I think a lot of people would make a strong argument here for 1998. Metal
Yeah.
Gear Solid, Half-Life, Resident Evil 2, Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, Crash Bandicoot Warped, StarCraft, Parasite Eve, Fallout 2, Tomb Raider 3, Spyro the Dragon, Baldur's Gate, Need for Speed 3, Hot Pursuit, Marvel vs. Capcom. Um, let's see.
Pokemon Yellow.
I am being
Pokemon Yellow.
Pokemon Yellow. Yeah,
I'm being
yeah.
freaking flabbergasted
And the
at
first Soul
just
Calibur.
at just how old some of these games are. These franchises.
Yeah.
StarCraft 1998, Half-Life 1998. PS1 was Half-Life, so that's what that started.
Yeah.
Well,
Go
I
on,
don't think it was
get with
PS1. I think it was PC, but
Right,
Either way,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
I just
Goes back that far, yeah.
holy cow! Some of those, like some of them, like yeah, fair enough, Spyro and Ocarina of Time. Some of them, I'm just like, wait, what? 1998. So wait, when did Half-Life 2 come out? Maybe we could do like a mathematical prediction of when Half-Life 3 will come out, considering the big gap there. Like,
Do you know what I'm surprised that I didn't see there actually? I
What?
don't know why I'm Ron Burgundy. I didn't see amongst that list,
Quantum
unless it's just like this was just like a quick list of like some of the heavy hitters. Unless it doesn't count as a heavy hitter, but I'd be surprised given the era that it was. I didn't see Final Fantasy VIII there.
did
So
that
now
come out
I'm
the year after 7?
well. Try and think about it for a second, right? You have Final Fantasy VII released in 1997,
Mm-hmm.
right? Final
Okay.
Fantasy X released in 2001.
Okay.
So, in between those couple of years, like that's not a lot of time at all. Basically, yeah, there was a Final Fantasy each year. At that point in time, maybe it's 99, and maybe Final Fantasy 9 was 2000.
I think so.
Is that what it
There
is?
there is a big jump in graphics between 7
All of
to
them.
8.
97
and
was a
8.
good year.
Final Fantasy 8 was 1999. Go on, what was 1997? Throw us out a few.
It's a very good year, almost as old as I am.
Well, you had GoldenEye 007, which is
Ah.
yeah. Castlevania Symphony of the Night,
Fucking hell.
Final Fantasy 7,
Well, of course.
Age of Empires,
Oh, shit.
the first Fallout,
Oh, shit.
Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey,
Oh,
What?
shit. Follow me.
Tomb Raider
Okay.
2, Mortal Kombat 4,
Yeah.
Quake 2,
My God.
Crash
Quake, is that
Bandicoot 2,
old?
Tekken 3.
Holy shit. It was the same year as 7.
Yeah,
That's such a good year.
that's a good fucking year. Yeah, I can see why people have fond memories of the.
Honestly,
This one
I think
era.
people are going to call us mad for the years we picked.
Probably.
But okay, the ball's now in your court. Let us know, what is the greatest year for gaming so far? Maybe having gone through a few of those has now like kicked in, some of your memories of certain years, or maybe it's now made you curious. Actually, yeah, let me check this year, blah blah blah, and see where all the heavy hitters are. But do let us know. If you watch this YouTube, to tell in the comments, share your thoughts. What do you think was the greatest year of gaming so far, excluding 2023? And then when we get to the end of 2023, maybe we'll see where does it stack up against that list. Because actually, if you list out some of the games that have come out so far in just the first 6 months, this year is fucking ridiculous. But we'll see. So again, YouTube, jump down in the comments. If you enjoyed this discussion, when it gives a thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring the notification bell for all future content. And out of the 3 years that we picked, which one do you think was the best? And then hit us back with the one that you think is even better out of all the years before. To those of you listening on audio platforms, you can also touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take, again, to give you your take on the greatest year of gaming so far. Thank you very much for tuning in and listening to The Brothers Take. We'll be back to talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.